Hi, I'm Brenda Quintana, coming to you from the Beehive at cubiesquest.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make these cute note cards using the Bird Banter stamp set. Now these note cards are really cute on their own, but they'd be even cuter if you gave them inside my birdhouse note card box. The tutorial for this note card box will be available in just a couple of days, so be sure to check back on my blog. To make these note cards really easy to make, I've kept the supplies to a minimum. We're using a package of Subtles cardstock that has many soft colors in it and some Whisper White sheer ribbon, which we're going to color with Stampin' Blends. I'm going to show you how to make each one of these cards from start to finish. So let's get started. The first card we're going to make is this one with the little budgies on it, and we're going to start by creating this frame for the outside. So to create the frame, you're going to need your Big Shot. I'm going to use my magnetic platform, and I've got one cutting plate already down, and I'm going to need a piece of pink Pirouette cardstock, and I've cut this piece to 5 inches by 3.5 inches. Just place this down here. Then we're going to need the layering ovals framelits. I'm going to need the third largest smooth oval, and I'm going to place this oval about 1/2 inch from the top, and then I want it to be centered from side to side. I want to make sure there's enough room here for the greeting at the bottom. Once that looks good, I'm going to take my cutting plate, place it on top, and run it through the Big Shot. So we're going to need the frame first, but reserve this oval for a little later on. So we're going to start off by stamping on the frame, and I'm going to need my old olive ink pad. And I'm going to need the greeting that says, "You're the kind of friend I'd like to share my branch with." And I'm just going to ink this up in the old olive. And I'm going to stamp it centered just right underneath that oval. Then I'm going to need a note card from the Whisper White Note Cards and Envelopes collection. These note cards are great because they're pre-cut and pre-scored, and they have matching envelopes. So let me open this note card so it's a little easier to stamp on. And I'm going to take my frame, make sure it's lined up with the bottom. I'm going to take a pencil, and I'm going to trace this oval onto my note card so I know where to stamp everything. I still have my old olive ink pad out, and I'm going to take the branch and ink it up. I'm going to have the leaves come outside of this oval because I don't have room for them on my little image right now. I'm just going to make sure the branch is stamped near the bottom of the oval, like that, and you can see that the leafy part of the branch is outside of the oval, and the branch starts just outside of the oval on this side too. To help with centering, I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm just going to make myself a mark at the halfway point of the card, so that is at 2.5 inches. Just a tiny pencil mark to let me know where I can stamp the heart. For the heart, I'm going to use my Blushing Bride ink pad. And I'm going to use this little heart right here, and I'm going to stamp that right here using my pencil mark as a guide. Then I'm going to take the first budgie, and I'm going to ink him up in the old olive, and I'll just make sure that his feet touch the branch and his beak is close to the heart. Then I'm going to take my second budgie, ink that one up, feet on the branch and the beak close to the heart. So now all my stamping is done for this card, and I just have to color it. I'm going to color this card using Stampin' Blends, and I'm just going to tell you the colors I'm going to use. I'm going to use the Old Olive Light, I'm going to use the Pink Pirouette Dark, the Daffodil Delight Dark, and the Pool Party Dark. the card all colored. Next, I'm going to use some Tombow to glue the frame onto the card front. And just make sure that it sits nicely down at the bottom of the card. And then when it looks good, just press it down to seal it to the card front. Next, I'm going to show you how I got this ribbon in the shade of Pink Pirouette. I took an 8-inch piece of the 1/8 inch sheer ribbon. This color is in Whisper White. And I just laid it down on some scrap paper. And then I took the dark Pink Pirouette Stampin' Blends, and I'm going to use the brush side. And all you need to do is just lay it down and just brush the ink over top. And it's going to change into this beautiful color. And in fact, it sinks through to the other side, so unless you notice that there's any white patches, you'll be able to do it just on the front. So you'll want to do that with the whole piece of ribbon, and then you'll want to let it dry for about a minute, and then it will be ready to tie into a bow. And to save myself some time, I've already tied a little bow, and I'm going to use a glue dot to add it to the front of my card. So just grab one of these little dots, and then I'm just going to stick this right on my card front like that. There is the first card, the budgie card. Now we're going to make the toucan card. So you're going to need your Big Shot again, and you're going to need a piece of Pear Pizzazz cardstock. I've cut this piece to 5 inches by 3.5 inches. This time we're going to use the second largest oval, and I'm going to put it about 1/2 inch from the top as well, and centered from side to side. Then I'll put my second cutting plate on top and run it through. And here is the frame, and here is this oval that we'll reserve for later. So let's stamp on the frame first. So I'm going to use my Memento Tuxedo black ink pad, open it up, and I'm going to use the greeting, just a little toucan of my appreciation. Ink that up in the ink, and I'm going to stamp it down here in the bottom right corner. Then I'm going to grab a note card. I'm going to leave this one open as well. And I'm going to grab my frame, make sure it's at the bottom, and I'm going to trace the oval onto my card front so I know where to stamp everything. I'm going to take my toucan stamp, ink him up, and stamp him centered in the oval. Then I'm going to need my old olive ink pad again. And I'm going to need this little leaf stamp. I'm going to ink that stamp up, and first I'm going to stamp it right underneath the toucan's legs or feet, and then I'm just going to do kind of an all over pattern to support this little toucan. He's going to look like he's sitting on a bush. So just keep bringing in the stamp. It doesn't matter if it's not all within the oval. You just need some leaves underneath the toucan so he looks like he's on a bush. Okay, so that looks pretty good. We're going to need quite a few colors for this colorful bird. So we're going to use the Daffodil Dark, the Pumpkin Pie Dark, the Old Olive, both the light and the dark, the Bermuda Bay Light, the Night of Navy Dark, the Cherry Cobbler Light, and the Smoky Slate Dark. So let's start coloring. So for the toucan tail, to get it to look like it's black, I'm going to use both the Smoky Slate Dark and the Night of Navy Dark together to make it really dark. And there is the toucan all colored. Now we just need to glue the frame onto the card front. And I'm just going to make sure that my frame is down at the bottom of my card. And then I'm going to smooth it down. I used my old olive light Stampin' Blends to color the ribbon again. I've got it already tied in a bow. So I'm just going to add it to a glue dot, and then I can add that to the top of my card. And here is my toucan card all done. Next, we're going to make the cockatoo card. And I'm going to need my Big Shot again and a piece of Wisteria Wonder cardstock that I've cut to 3.5 inches by 5 inches. I'm going to use my third largest layering oval, and this time I want the oval centered on the card. When that looks good, put the second cutting plate on top and run it through the Big Shot. And here are the two pieces. So let's start by stamping the greeting on the frame. So I'm going to use my Elegant Eggplant ink pad. And I'm going to use the stamp that says, "A little birdie told me it was your birthday." Ink it up. I'm going to stamp this down at the bottom right corner. Then I'm going to bring in my Whisper White note card, and I'm going to put my frame on top, and I'm just going to take my pencil again and draw myself an oval so that I know where to stamp everything. I'm going to stamp my little cockatoo centered in the card, right in the middle of the oval. Then I'm going to take my Blushing Bride ink pad and this little flower, and I'm just going to stamp the flower much like I did the leaf for the toucan, and just create a bed of flowers for my cockatoo to sit on. Stamping them pretty close together. That looks pretty good. So for my cockatoo, I'm going to need 5 colors: the pink Pirouette Light and Dark, the rich Razzleberry Light, the Daffodil Delight Dark, and the Smoky Slate Light. And now my cockatoo's all colored. So now we need to adhere the frame to the front. So take some Tombow. And then just glue that to the card front. And then the closest match I could get for the bow was using the Smoky Slate Light marker. And I'm going to add a glue dot to my bow and add it to the card front right here. And now the cockatoo card is all done. Last but not least, we're going to create this parrot card, and I'm going to need my Big Shot again, and I have a piece of Marina Mist cardstock, and I've cut this piece to 3.5 inches by 5 inches. I'm going to use my second largest layering oval framelit, and I'm going to center it on my cardstock piece. And then once it looks good, I'm going to run it through the Big Shot. And make sure you reserve that little oval. We're going to stamp the greeting on the frame first with our Memento Tuxedo black ink pad. And I'm just going to use this cute little happy birthday stamp. And I'm going to stamp that down here. Then I'm going to need a note card, and I'm going to trace my frame onto the card front again, just with a pencil. And then I'm going to take my Pirouette stamp, ink it up in the Tuxedo black ink. And I'm going to want to make sure my Pirouette is in the oval, kind of centered. I'm going to take the little party hat and I'm going to add it to the top of the head. Then I'm going to take my old olive ink pad and I'm going to stamp a branch. Now this branch is going to come off the card, so I'm just going to use a scrap piece of paper here on the side and just ink up this branch. And I'm going to make sure this time the leaves are on the card, so I'm just going to kind of tilt it so that we've got leaves and it's right underneath the feet of my parrot. So we'll need 5 colors to color the parrot: the light dark Daffodil Delight, the light old olive, the light Night of Navy, and the light Cherry Cobbler. And there is the parrot all colored. Now we just need to add some glue to the frame. And add it to the front of the card. Then for this bow, I use the light Night of Navy Stampin' Blends to create this color. And again, I'm just going to take a mini glue dot, stick it on the bow, and add it to the front of the card. Now, when you're using Stampin' Blends, they are really intense and they do soak into the cardstock. So on the reverse side, you might notice that there's some bleeding that comes through that. So that's why it's a great idea to reserve these little ovals, and you can use them to cover up that bad spot. So then you can either write a message on here, or you could take the parrot, for instance, and what I would probably do is a tone-on-tone design using the same color as the cardstock. Or you could use Memento Tuxedo black ink again if you didn't have Marina Mist. But what I would do is just take my Marina Mist ink pad, ink up my bird, and then I would just kind of, and I would stamp it right in the middle of the oval, like that. And then that can just be kind of like a little accent for the inside of the card. And you can do that with each card, depending on how much bleed you have. The parrot was pretty intense, so the colors did bleed through. So there you go. Aren't these note cards just adorable with their corny little greetings that match? And then if you pair that together with this awesome birdhouse, it will make a great gift. All the supplies you'll need to make these note cards are available for purchase on my blog. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. Bye for now. If you like this tutorial, be sure to check out all the free with purchase tutorials available on my blog. The birdhouse tutorial is just one of the exclusive tutorials that you can choose free with a minimum purchase in my Stampin' Up! Store. Hi, it's Brenda again. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also visit my blog for more information on my projects and to learn about my rewards program, or just watch another one of my videos. Thanks for watching.